You guys, I'm so freaking excited about this. This is week 17, I think. Week 17, I wanted to make a tower. This is the classic French croquembouche, and each choux pastry is filled with lemon, vanilla, or coconut pastry cream. So follow along as I try to make this tower, and as you'll see, it was quite successful. Just don't look at this side where he's a little leaning. We're gonna put him on display on the good side. So to get started first on the choux pastry, I'm going to combine some water, milk, butter, sugar, and salt, and we're gonna put it over on the stove top. So let's do that first. Maybe 1 cup of water. To my water and butter, I'm gonna add 1 cup of whole milk. And I'm gonna add 4 teaspoons of sugar, which is 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon. And then half a teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to bring this to a simmer on the stove. You know, the choux is quite interchangeable with all the types of pastries it makes, or it can make. We made eclairs, you guys saw that. You make profiteroles, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is when you take the cream puff. So this choux makes cream puffs. You take a cream puff and you split it open and you put filling in it. People do ice cream, whipped cream, pastry cream, cream diplomat, and then not to mention all the different flavors you can get inside those cream puffs. I was debating on what flavors I want to put inside the choux or the cream puffs for the croquembouche, and I think I'm gonna do coconut and vanilla, maybe a lemon. This is gonna be for Easter if it turns out right, so I want to do spring flavors. My butter mixture has came to a simmer. All the butter has melted. So I'm gonna add in the flour and we're gonna stir that for about 1.5 minutes to let the flour cook against the heat of the pan. Once we get to this stage where we've added all the flour, you wanna keep stirring it until it's kind of incorporated into a ball of sorts, as you can see here. And you wanna try and push it up against the sides of the pan and the bottom, which helps the flour cook in the dough. And we're just gonna keep stirring for the 1.5 minutes like I mentioned. And then once that is done, we'll take it off of the heat and we'll let it cool for a few minutes. And then we start to add in eggs. I'm going to take the choux that we've already made. You're all gonna come for me because I'm using my sleeves. What was I saying? I'm gonna take the choux, the stage of the choux, and I'm gonna put it into a new bowl for now to help it cool. And we'll let that sit for about 5 minutes. And while that's cooling down, I'm going to go ahead and beat the eggs that we're gonna add, because they have to be beat before you add them in. This is a very egg-heavy, oh no, there's a shell. Egg-heavy dish. I'm doubling the batch. A little trick here. Get water on your finger, hopes you catch the eggshell. My grandma taught me that. Anyways, it's a very egg-heavy dish. 1 batch takes 4 eggs just for the pastry alone, but I'm doubling it so we have enough for our little tower. I'm using 8 eggs. I'm gonna have to move to the bigger mug. I underestimated my eggs. So our choux been sitting for about 5 minutes. I've beaten our 8 eggs. I'm going to add just a little bit at a time, maybe like divide this into like 6 additions. I want it to get to a good pipeable consistency, so we're gonna add a little bit, beat it for a little while. So we'll check back in once I've gotten that point. This is when I wish I didn't throw that big one away, but he was gross. I'm going to, well, first of all, I didn't even show you guys. This is what the choux should look like once we've added our eggs. I won't add all the eggs, so what's left over we're gonna use as an egg wash on top before they bake. But now I'm gonna put this in my piping bag and we'll start to prep our pans for them to go into the oven. The key to a perfect choux is steam. So I have some water in my pastry brush. I'm going to brush my parchment paper with water. This will help create steam once these are placed in the oven. Before you pop these in the oven, it's good to wet your finger and smooth down the tops where you piped them to help create a good rounded puff. And then we will top them with the egg wash. I added a little bit of milk to those leftover beaten eggs, and that is what this egg wash is composed of. I am a little nervous that these are kind of deflated, but I'm hoping they'll puff up in the oven. So we'll see after this first batch. These are ready to go in the oven. The oven is at 400 right now. They're gonna bake for 20 minutes, and then without opening the door, I'm gonna drop the temp down to 350 and do another 10 minutes or so. While our choux pastry is baking, I'm gonna go ahead and start working on our pastry cream that we're going to fill the choux with. I'm gonna do just a general base vanilla, and then once it's finished, I'm gonna split it up into 2 different bowls and add some different extracts to make different flavors. I'm not bold enough to experiment with adding like raw lemon or whatnot, coconut milk. I'm afraid it's gonna mess with the fat content of the pastry cream, and I don't have room to make risks right now. So I have some leftover egg yolks from the Bailey's espresso martini cupcakes we made last week, and I'm going to mix those with some cornstarch to get started for our pastry cream. A little bit of cornstarch. We got our eggs and cornstarch mixed together. I've set that aside. I'm going to combine whole milk and some granulated sugar, and we're gonna put that on the stove top, just like we did the choux pastry. And 2 cups of milk. Same thing we're doing here. Gonna let the mixture come to a simmer until the sugar has dissolved, and then we're gonna slowly add that into our egg mixture. Nothing fancy. We brought our whole milk and sugar to a simmer. I'm just gonna add a little bit to the cornstarch egg mixture to warm those up. Ignore my mobile bowl. And to make sure I don't have any egg solids, I'm just gonna run this through a sieve. Pastry cream mixture, you don't want that into your cream because it's just chunks of egg yolk that aren't gonna make your pastry cream taste good. Going to add this back into our saucepan and put it back on the stove to let it cook up. So this process with the pastry cream is pretty quick. As soon as you turn it back onto the heat, that cornstarch starts to cook. This will come to a boil, and you better watch out because it's gonna pop on you. It'll look a little frothy at first, but it thickens up pretty fast within about a minute or 2. My whisk is burning hot. We're going to let this bubble for like 20 seconds, and then I'm gonna take it off and add butter, a pinch of salt, and then I'll split it up and add our flavorings that we're gonna do. Okay, sigh of relief. The first set are good. I think like this one, a little too wide for the tower we're gonna do, but I might let them cool to see if they're deflating at all before I put my next round in, because I wanna make sure my times are all good with how long I've left them in the oven. Vanilla, coconut, lemon. I'm gonna divide these as evenly as I can. Add a little bit of vanilla to this one. I'm not measuring vanilla because I don't care. This is going to be the lemon pastry cream. Since this is like a third of the batch and extract is so strong, I'm just gonna do 1/4 of a teaspoon. Ooh, not all of that. Lastly, we're gonna do some coconut extract. Okay guys, as expected, I let these sit to cool down and they're underdone as I thought. So I'm gonna go ahead and bake the rest of these with a little bit of a longer time to make sure they're done. I'm gonna pop my different pastry creams in the fridge, and then I will check back in with you guys tomorrow when we attempt to assemble this thing with homemade caramel. So that'll be another thing we have to make as well. So I'll see you tomorrow. Welcome back, you guys. It's next morning. I got all of those choux pastries baked last night, so I'm gonna go ahead and fill them with the cream pastry we made, and then we're gonna get started on the caramel sauce that will help coat the choux pastry, and then we'll use a different caramel sauce to glue and build the croquembouche. So let's do the fillings first. I'm gonna do a little lighter than I would normally because I'm afraid I don't have enough pastry cream, and because I don't want them to be too heavy to where they collapse on the tower. Okay, we're on our last round of the pastry cream. This is what we have left to fill. So I might not have enough, but if we end up needing them, I'll make some whipped cream and fill those. So we'll see. We might not need them. Okay, I got all of them filled except for 2. I'm gonna go ahead and make the caramel that we're going to dip the tops in. And then we'll make a second batch of caramel that'll be used for the glue that will hold them up on their sides like so. So let's do that. I'm gonna put together 300 grams of sugar and 85 grams of water. Put this on the saucepan until it comes to about the color of honey, maybe a little darker. And then that's what color we want for the tops of the croquembouche. We're getting this caramel made. You might ask why I have a glove on. It's going to be burning hot when we dip the puffs into the caramel. So I just went ahead and put that on. You don't want to stir your sugar once it's at the boiling stage. So you just want to swirl your pan occasionally to help evenly distribute that caramelization on the sugar, and just keep an eye on it. Occasionally you might want to brush the sides with water to help the sides of the pan not get crystallized with that sugar. That's really about the only tips I have with caramel. I've oh God. About to make our sink blow up. Okay, we've got our first round of caramel that we're going to dip the tops in done. It's got that nice amber color. While I'm dipping, I'm gonna go ahead and get the second batch started just because it takes a few minutes for the sugar to get to the boiling stage. Burning hot. It caught my thumb. That's why I'm wearing the gloves. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so freaking excited. Burning, burning. My thumb hurts so bad. Not this one, the other one. While the other sugar batch is about finished, I'm placing the cream puff in the spots that I want them to be as we build the tower. And then we'll dip each side in the caramel and then stick it up right. So I want to go ahead and get my spacing aligned right. And hopefully I have enough. I got caramel on me. I'm nervous at this part, and then we start building up and it gets a little... It's definitely leaning a little bit, I think, but you know, it's my first time. I'm still freaking excited. And I did it without the cone that some people use as guidance. For the final top piece, I'm gonna take the bottom of one puff, dip it in the caramel, sandwich it. I'm gonna let it harden for a second. And then we're gonna dip it in caramel and stick it like this. Hell yeah. Thanks for watching this week's episode of 52 Weeks of Baking. I'm going to take this along to my Easter brunch, and I hope to see you guys back here next week for week 18.